anyone can have a goal, but willpower will only get you so far. And it's really your habits that are what get you there. And so I think it's helped that I've just competing, I think really it forces you to build good habits, right? If you want to be successful, you have to have good habits. And so I've just built those habits up, and it makes it a lot easier now in the off season and just in daily life.
All right, welcome back to my channel, everyone. Today, I've got a really special guest, Teresa McDonald. She's a wonderful client and friend of mine. She's an NPC bikini competitor, and I believe you've been competing for like 10 years, right? Have you been an active
Um, I think so, yes.
since,
I
yeah,
never did the math, but I think you're right.
about 2015, 2016 is when you started, I think, is what I remember. So, yeah. And so with Teresa, she took a few years off from competing and then hired me for a prep that we did last year, and which we brought her best ever physique to the stage. It was incredible. So we're going to dive into what that comeback looked like, what was different about her approach, what she's been doing now, and being about a year into her main gains season, and kind of take a look behind the curtain of what she's doing when it's not as exciting, when you're not seeing those changes on like a weekly basis. So
Right.
welcome, Teresa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm so excited. And so before we dive into all this fun stuff, I would love for you to just introduce yourself, a little bit about you, what got family, things like that, and then what got you into competing, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Okay. So I am almost 40. I will be 40 next month, which is crazy.
Welcome to the
um,
40s almost.
Thank you. Thank you. You make it look so good. Um, I I work full time. I work at a desk most of the day. I work for a local government, doing really boring land use planning stuff. And I have one daughter. She's 8 years old. She's a third grader, and she's like my little mini best friend. She's awesome. And then my husband is a firefighter, and that's it. That's our little family, just the three of us. But it works. It works really good for us. I was interested in competing. I think I started getting into it. I think yeah, a little over 10 years ago when because my husband worked with someone who was a bodybuilder, and then him and his wife took me to a show, and it was kind of mind blowing, but pretty awesome. And I just got really interested in it. And then he's the one who hooked me up with his coach. And that was my first coach. And I think, yeah, it was 2016, 15, one of those.
Yeah, right, like 10 years
Yeah.
ago, around that
Yeah.
time frame.
Crazy.
So they got you into competing, and were they the couple that I met when I came to your show last
No,
year?
that was actually just my one of my good friends, their parents, who just are into bodybuilding too. They like that lifestyle. They work out a lot, and so they live in Pleasanton, so not too far from I think where my last show was. So they just came to support me.
Gosh, that's so fun. It really
Yeah,
is cool to have that community of people that support you, because sometimes people can look at competing and think it's very selfish, very time consuming, you know, um, doesn't make
yeah,
a whole lot of sense to people from an outside perspective, but there's so much mental growth, there, internal growth, mindset growth that comes from competing that you don't actually get to physically see, right? Have you
right.
noticed that over the years?
Oh, totally. I think that competing, depending on the person, can either be detrimental to you or it can really help you as far as not just physical growth, but like you said, like mental growth and broadening your horizons and having a better mindset about just life in general, but also specifically like diet and body image. And for me, I think competing, the longer I compete, the the better mindset I have, because I it helps me to realize that the number on the scale is, you don't have to live and die by it, right? It's just a fleeting moment, and it's okay to have multiple pant sizes, right? And sometimes you're in a phase of life where you're in a bigger size of pants. So you don't need to call them your fat pants or whatever, right? They're just, and then sometimes you fit into a smaller size of pants, and that's okay. It's not like, it doesn't mean you always need to fit into the smaller size, or you always need to be at this certain weight or look a certain way, that type of thing.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with what you're saying. A lot of people define their self-worth by the number on the scale or by a certain size of pants that they're wearing, but it really comes down to the look and how you feel and if you are thriving and being able to find that sustainability within what you're doing, right?
Right.
And so it should, for competing, for a lot of people who find success and are doing this for years, like you and I, we've been doing this for like 10 years. We have been able to find ways for it to enhance our lives and look at it with this like excitement of like, what can I do to be better and how can I improve, instead of like, this is the only way. I have to follow these certain rules. I have to make sure that I stay below a certain weight. And so we're looking at enhancing our lives rather than taking away from our lives. Yeah. So as I said, you've been competing for about 10 years. How many preps did you do, or how many shows did you do before we started working together? Do you know?
I think it was 4 or 5. So because I even though I've been doing it for 10 years total, I haven't been doing every year, multiple preps a year. I've taken like big chunks of time off in between, just to work on improving like my biomarkers and stuff, or if it was because I had my daughter, right? Or just because I wasn't in a stage of life where it was, I think I wasn't in the appropriate spot, to do it. So I think total like 4 or 5 before I started working with you.
And I also really appreciate the fact that as a competitor, you don't feel like you need to hop on the stage every single year. You are looking at this from a longevity perspective and knowing that you got to take some time off to make improvements, or you're stepping away from the stage because competing is something that enhances your life, but you're not defined from competing. Like you're Teresa, the mother and the wife, and you have all these hats, but a competitor isn't something that defines you, right? Like,
Right. It's a fun hobby, but it's
yes,
not who I am.
exactly. And it's an expensive hobby.
Yes, that's the other thing is I have to recoup my bank account right after, just to build up that cushion again so I can afford to compete again. So yes, it is a very expensive hobby, so you better like it, right? And find
Yep.
value in it.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, from the bikini suit to the coaching to even the time commitment of posing and getting your steps in when you're in a contest prep or your cardio. Like there's a lot that
Mhm.
goes into it, which again, I think it's pretty cool that there's so many things that we can do, and we have this ability to take our physiques to places that they haven't ever been before and really challenge ourselves, because it gives us confidence in other areas of our life and the ability to maybe advocate for ourselves a little bit better in certain relationships or with our work, and to for like, I know because you just got a new job, and I don't know if there was any sort of anything that you noticed from your last contest prep of any confidence that you gained that gave you that courage, or kind of gave you that push to look out at other jobs to find something that might just kind of fit your life a little bit better and make you a little bit happier too. Did you
Yeah.
see any correlation with that at all?
Well, I think in just in general, doing any, I think anyone, hopefully, who goes through a prep and all that grind and, like you said, all that extra time and actually gets up on stage, regardless of the outcome, I think is just a good reminder to yourself that you can do hard things and you can do new things and scary things.
Yes, to that. So we started into a contest prep in 2024. It was like the beginning of 2024. And prior to that, the last time you had stepped on stage, I think it was 2020. So it had been about 4 years. Is that about the correct time frame?
I think so because it was before. I think it was before COVID, so I think that makes sense.
So maybe even 2019 was,
Somewhere around there.
yeah, somewhere around there. So it had been quite a few years, and so what I typically like to do when I'm coaching somebody is I like to have a few months to work with them, right? To work on like, okay, we're in a good main gains phase, figure out like this is about the per estimated amount of weight that needs to be lost in this contest prep in order to get stage lean and things like that. But when we started, it was like, let's go. And the goal
Mhm.
initially was a show. There was a show that you were looking at that you wanted to do. I think it was in June. I think there was like a show in June, and I was like, "We'll aim for that." But I'm not like we can't put all of our eggs in that basket because I don't know if you will be ready. But we'll aim for it. We'll see, and then we'll adjust. And it came to like we were prepping, moving forward, and you were like, "Is this going to happen?" And I was like, I don't think so. We don't have the conditioning yet. And so there were a couple of other shows that came and went, right, during this contest.
Yes.
And so share with everybody what's like how you felt about that. If it did that drive you nuts? Were you like, okay, I get where she's coming from? Like, what was that kind of thought process? Because this was the first time we had ever prepped together. And so looking at it too, based on past experiences too.
I mean, sure, I think anyone would be frustrated, right? Like you have a goal date, right? It's like planning for a trip, right? You want this is when it's planned. You have because your life kind of plans around it, right? Like, well, we really want to go on this vacation after, right? So I'd like to have my prep first and be on stage first and be dialed in and all that stuff. But um, I I think I was okay with it partially because of my experience and my last prep before I started working with you. I was not conditioned enough. I was not ready. But I was part of a team, and the all the girls on the team were doing this show. So it's like this is the show we're doing, and I was just not there. I rushed it, and you could tell on stage. I just did not have the conditioning, and I did not play so well at all. I was not happy with the package I brought. And so, um, and then, my prep with you kept pushing back the shows, and you were very like, you're very gentle and do it in a very loving way. Like, we're just not, there yet. We want you to be like, we want you to bring your best package. And I remember there was one show, maybe in like September or October, and you were just like really aware of how long I had been in prep for, right? And you don't want to be in prep for so long to where it has a lot of negative consequences and mentally or physically, right? And you're like, Teresa, you've worked so hard. Like maybe we can just do this show. I just want you to be able to get up on stage. And I was like, I'm okay. I promise, Val. Like I want to bring my best package. I'm not losing it, right? Like I'm in it to win it. Let's do it as long as it takes. As long as it takes until I'm there. Because I don't want to be up on stage and place poorly because I was tired of being hungry, right? Or I just wanted to rush it and just get up on there. When if I had waited a couple more months, and then I really could have brought my best package.
So it like tested your patience,
For
but
sure.
at the same time, based on past experience, you understood the assignment. Like, okay,
Yes.
this is what we're doing here. I want to bring my all-time best. There's still some more body fat that I have that I can lose. And so yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And it is true that I do. Like I worry about you and wanted to make sure that you were doing okay. And because I knew that it was important to get on stage, but it was coming to the point where the prep ended up being like twice as long as what you initially had anticipated. Going into it for me as your coach, I was a little bit leery because I was like, I think we have a lot more weight to lose than what you think that you have to lose, you know? But making a prep, because we started in January, and we did 2 shows last year. Your first show was in October or November? Was it
I think
November?
it was in November, and then my second was in December.
So essentially, you were prepping for almost the entire year. It was That was a long time, and my approach definitely is different than what you've done in the past. So, looking at the ways that you've prepped in the past versus how I prepped you, what are some of the biggest things that stood out?
I think you're more conservative, which I really appreciate, as far as not with the crash dieting or um, dropping calories too low too soon or assigning like 2 hours of stepper or stair meal a day. I know that we did actually when I first started working with you. I remember you're like, oh, your calories are too low, let's bring them up a little bit. So we did that, and I didn't like gain a bunch of weight or anything. It was fine, just so I had a better like base to start at, so we had more room to drop the calories. I remember I was only training 4 days a week, which I love. I love having like not 6 days in the gym. There was no extra cardio except for my daily steps. You're like, this is your average number of steps to try and get in a day. Just get these in however you can. Versus like previous preps, it was, I think I said, like probably like 2 hours of dedicated cardio on the stair middle a day. I also remember having to do like plyometrics and hit training after my weightlifting sessions, and those were just super killer on my body. I
Oh, no way.
like after doing a full training session and you're in a calorie deficit and then having to do like burpees, it was it was miserable. It was so miserable. So it's just different. Oh, and also one of the
I did
big
not
things,
know that. I don't think I ever knew.
yeah, that you didn't put me on a meal plan, which was super different for me because I'd always been on a meal plan. Like, this is what you're eating every day. And you never did that. I mean, towards the end, like peak week, right? Just to like that, you're eating more of the same food just because you know how your body reacts to that, like how much water or sodium you retain. Like, right? It's like sciencey at
Yeah.
that point. But
Hmm.
otherwise, it was like, these are your macros. You're a grown up, eat what you want, but stay within these parameters, right? And as I know, like, sure, I can eat a bunch of Oreos, but how is that going to make me feel? And that's really calorie dense, and it's going to take up all my fats and carbs for the day, right? Also, I never tracked any vegetables. You're like, eat your vegetables. Why do you have to track them? And that's how, and I have followed that since then. Like, I never track them ever. And that's really freeing just to have that little bit of freedom to be like, how much does this bell pepper weigh? It doesn't matter. Like, or this onion, just, it's like more sustainable, I think.
Yes, it really is. It creates so much more sustainability because if you're making yourself a salad, it makes it there's like so much resistance into wanting to make that salad if you're like, okay, but I want these four vegetables, I want to add radishes and I want to add
Yeah.
the bell peppers and some tomatoes. And it's like, do I really have to weigh every single one of these things out? And yes, I get the like the other side of it where people are like, you should weigh everything. Everything has, calories and go, or like looking at the micronutrient intake. And it's like, yes, I could see where it's like if you wanted to double check to make sure you're getting enough micronutrients. But I would rather see my clients just eat the food because like you're not gonna like overeat in bell peppers or
Right? Yeah.
like
No, no one who's gonna like be gain weight off of eating iceberg lettuce, right? Or something like it's
yeah, you've never seen that of like, oh, yep, my last contest prep, it was the iceberg lettuce.
yeah,
That
it
me in. Like I
did.
was craving it so bad, I was overeating and I gained all the weight. Like it just doesn't happen. There's like like our bodies know when it comes to that fiber and stuff, and it's just there are so many micronutrients that you can get from them. So yeah, it's like, is it worth it to weigh out the 24 grams of a bell pepper or a couple of baby carrots that you eat? I I I like the way that I coach my clients in
Yeah.
that regard. So I'm glad because it does create less mental fatigue when it comes to your food. And it still allows you to be able to get those micronutrients into your diet, which is super important. We want
Yes.
those whole foods. And so it it doesn't detract and make you like look at them like, ugh, I have to throw this on the scale. It's like,
Right.
why?
Or like, oh, I have to waste 50 calories on this asparagus that I don't even like that much, right? You just don't have to, you don't want to not eat it because you'd rather have a sweet treat or something instead, right? It just, for me anyway, that's how I think about it. I'm like, I don't have the problem because I don't even worry about the calories because they're just so, like you said, so nutrient dense compared to the, versus caloric dense.
Yeah, and oddly enough, with you bringing that up, I actually have been tracking everything the last few days and even the vegetables, and it's been, yeah, it's not the most fun thing to do. But it's interesting because it adds up to about 30 extra calories per
Oh,
day with
oh
my,
man, watch out.
and I'm like, is it worth it? If you're 80 grams of romaine lettuce, and I literally, like, the reason I said 24 grams of bell peppers because that's literally what it was, and then it was like 19 grams of some carrots, and then about 30 grams of some tomato, and I'm just like, and then you look at it and you're like, okay, at the end of the day, it's about 30 calories extra. It's like not enough to create a massive dent. So anyway,
No,
kind of
not
went
gonna
on the
break the
tangent
bank.
on that, but I thought that was really interesting. So I'm glad that that stood out because it creates a more sustainable approach,
Yeah.
not only with your prep, but like you said, for here, like with maintenance
Yes.
stuff
And
too.
your diet, the diet breaks you gave me. I think that also is really important that I had on my prep because it was such a long prep, right? We did at least 2 or 3 diet breaks, and I think that really helped make it more sustainable.
Yes, their diet breaks are really helpful, not only from like a hormonal perspective, getting your fats up a little bit more, giving you calories to help carbohydrates to help cortisol drop, but also from a mental fatigue perspective. Right? It gives you like a
Yes.
mental break to some more food in your diet for a little bit as well. Good. I'm glad. Those diet breaks, it's very cool to use those or refeeds. There's different ways and different approaches that you can use those. And it's not just for contest prep. They're great for just if you're doing a fat loss phase and even a mini cut and you throw in a little couple day refeed or something like that. So there's different approaches and very beneficial and strategic
Yes.
to use. Okay, other thing with our prep was the posing. So how was posing, like working on posing this last time versus in the times past? Did you notice any differences with that?
Um, the posing for bikini changed since I last competed. There wasn't like last time I competed, there wasn't a specific front pose. And so um getting that rotation right in my torso, that's was definitely a struggle. And then also my back pose, getting that flexibility. It's just, but it's like with anything, the more you practice and the more flexible you know what I mean? You have to practice more so you can get more flexible, right? Like stretching. Like you never stretch, you're not going to be able to touch your toes type of thing. So I'd say posing is a lot harder than people would think it would be. It's like it's like its own workout.
It really is. Heart rate gets up, you get sweaty, back hurts, especially if
Yes.
you're working on that
Yes.
rotation and your back pose. Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
And so all of that combines the how I mean, like I think it was like a 10-month prep. I should have looked up how long it was. I totally forgot, but it was long.
Yes.
And then all the things that we did to work on your posing, even like skin prep,
Hmm.
did all the things and we nailed your show day look. Like you looked bomb. You looked so good. Was there anything that stood out to you of like what made the biggest difference from the last year to years past?
I think, well, my conditioning, yeah, I can't even disagree. Like it was on point. It looked so good. My tan looked really good. Like I followed your instructions to a T, right? About this day you're going to exfoliate, then this day you're going to do a self, this self tan yourself, and then just like following instructions to a T to make sure your skin is prepped right. I will say my not to go off on a too much of a tangent, but my previous prep, my coach told us don't use lotion for like a week or something before your tan, and you're going to use this special soap. And it dried out my skin so much I looked like an alligator because she gave the instructions based on how the tan react her skin is, right? Not everybody's skin. And so my for my last show, my tan looked so bad and so blotchy. It was not the business. So I think it's just really important to make sure you have good skin prep. Your skin is like not overly dry, but obviously you don't want it to be oily. It's just like again, sciency, right? Um, and then my makeup, I was just gonna um have them do whatever they wanted. I went with LeBeau Beauty.
For
Um,
LeBeau, yes.
yeah, and I remember I was like, "Hey Val, this is how they did my makeup for my last show. I don't know. I don't know anything about makeup, so I was just gonna tell the girl do whatever." And I remember like super quick on your phone, you like found a picture and you're like, "Tell them to do this." I'm like, "Okay," and it looked so good on me. My makeup never looked so good in my entire life. Like it was just with my suit color and the tan and my hair. I felt like very Hollywood glam, like old Hollywood glam. It looked so good. I felt great.
It was perfect. Like those pictures, oh my gosh, so good. Backstage, especially the pictures that I
Yes,
got of you backstage before getting on the stage with that natural light. Oh my gosh,
yes.
so
That was
good.
my favorite picture ever.
It was so pretty because I was there. That was the best part. I flew out to Teresa's show. It was in Sacramento, and was there. And then Heather Adams came out too to watch. So she drove over from San Francisco to come and watch too, which was super fun. It was for Heather's first time ever
That's
watching a
awesome.
show. Yeah. And so we did it. And what was like how did the shows go last year? What was your feedback from the judges? What do they have to say?
So overall, I did well. I didn't place first, although in my the first show I did, I feel like I can't remember which class, but it was me and another girl, and I feel like I still think I got robbed. I feel like mine I brought a better package, but whatever. Bodybuilding, that's the thing. It's very subjective, right? And so you just have to take everything with a grain of salt and understand that that's just you know what I mean? It's just how the game is played. Um, but I did well. I was really lucky, and after Sandy was the head judge at my first show, so Val waited with me after the show was over. And you just wait in line, and then you get to talk to the judges, right, and get their feedback. And she said my conditioning was on point. I don't need to be any leaner. But she just said that like maybe build my back a little bit more, right, so I have more volume and more size, yeah, in my upper body. And then she's like, I hate to tell you how to wear your hair, right? Because you can do whatever you want, but maybe like in the meantime, maybe some extensions would help cover like some of the leanness in your back until you have time to build more muscle or, at least bring a more, um, what's the word, symmetrical look, right? Because my lower body is just generally bigger than my upper body. And so for my second show, I did get extensions and I did place better. And they were fine. They were a pain in the butt to get in, though. I'll tell you that much. I almost gave up on the show and texted you. I was like, that's it. I'm not doing it. Because trying to put in these stupid halo extensions myself, it was a nightmare. It was literally a nightmare. So, but but I got them in and I placed really well. But I already knew like for this next year that I just need to work on getting more muscle overall and just building more of that symmetry between my upper body and my lower body, get that more of like that X
That
look.
hourglass
Yeah, the
shape.
hourglass shape. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I love it. Really, you summed that up perfectly. And on that last show, your last show that you did, I competed at that show too. It was Battle of the Bay. And
Yes.
so I did my thing and then you did your thing later on and I wish I could be more present. It's really hard when you're competing yourself to try to be as present for yourself as you are for a client, but when we went into it, I was like, I don't know, I don't know how present I'm going to be. I wasn't able to watch your like I was all there in the morning and with our
Mhm.
video back and forth, but I don't think I didn't get to see you on the stage. I just got video footage that your
Yeah.
husband had recorded. But we
But you're very honest about that. So I think as long as you communicate and you're like, look, I'm going to do the best I can. I just, you told me up front like that you're also competing that day, and so I think as long as you're honest and you have a client that is got their crap together and can handle it, then I don't think it's a problem. Like if it had been my first show ever, I may have been freaking out a little bit, but
yeah,
I've been at shows before where my coach wasn't even there at all. So I still think you're way more involved compared to other experiences that I've had.
that's good. Yeah, because I wasn't there like backstage with you like I had been at your first show that you did,
Hmm.
which is something I really want like try to do and was hoping that it would work out, but it didn't. So, I was really hungry is what it came down to. I was like, I'm gonna go and eat now. So
Yeah.
just text me how things go with finals. It was with
Yeah.
finals. So yeah, it was, but overall, like it was such a good experience. And I'm so glad that with the extensions with Sandy's suggestion to do that, like that helped. And you looked a phenomenal again, brought a really incredible package. And with her feedback that she gave you at the first show of like adding more muscle density, like we knew, okay, if we do
Hmm.
another show, it's not like in the next few months we're going to be able to make like night and day difference with the physique with more muscle density, but we can make some changes from an illusionary type of perspective,
Hmm.
maybe adjusting the posing a little bit, adding in the hair, and giving you more of that time to get on stage because it did like it took a long time. Your prep was long, and so it
Hmm.
was nice to be able to sit there for a minute, take advantage of that
Yes.
leanness, and have two really successful shows.
Yeah. Get my expensive bikinis worth out of it, right? Like you want to show it off more than once. You spend so much money on the thing.
So true. It's so true. So, since then, you've been in what I lovingly like to call a main gains phase where we're not putting on like a lot of weight, but enough for
Hmm.
hormones. And so you're not like constantly thinking about food and working on building muscle. So, what what have you been doing? Like how has it been? Like give the people like what we want to know.
Well, like we've already mentioned, like coaching is very, very expensive. So I think I stopped technically coaching with you in like April of this year, and I've just been sticking with the macros, the maintenance macros you gave me. But I did sign up for your app, which I love because I still get the awesome programming that you do that I love so much. Because I love your programming, the way that you do it. It just your training programs are so good and perfect for a bikini competitor or a fit model competitor, right? Just like the style that you do. Excuse me. So I've just been doing that, and it's been great. And I haven't been. I think we when we stopped working together, I was maybe like 10 or 12 pounds over stage weight. And then I was maintaining that for a while. And then I started my new job and I walk a lot less, like significantly less steps a day. And so it was interesting to see that even at like perceived maintenance, well, all of a sudden, like the scale started going up, and then my pants were getting really tight, and I was like I put on like 5 or 6 more pounds, and I was like, what's happening? I'm like, oh my gosh, it's this new job. My steps went from like 13,000 steps a day to like 8,000 steps a day, and that can really add up, right? Which just shows you how important just like your daily activity and step level is. I was like, well, it's like, what can you live with, right? Like, what's maintainable as far as a lifestyle goes. So I was like, well, I don't want to do dedicated cardio every day. I don't want to make up those. So I just like drop my calories back to like my new maintenance at this lower step amount, and it's fine. It's sustainable, right? So it's just you have to be aware of things like that. Like what's sustainable for you? There's got to be a give and take somewhere because as you always say, maintenance requires effort, right? And I didn't want to go get into I could have not dropped my calories back down, but then I would have kept gaining more and more fat, which is there's nothing wrong with it, except that I know if I want to do another prep again, that's more weight that I'm going to have to lose later on. And also my none of my pants were fitting. And I was like, okay, that's the problem. And I also, like you said, it's important that you feel good, right? So, and that you're just overall health wise. So that's it. I've just been trying to maintain and enjoy life and have treats and take trips, but still work out and work on that progressive overload and tracking my lifts to make sure that I am getting stronger and I have been. So I feel like that's good, right? That's a good indicator that you're doing something right if you're able to, increase your sets or your top weight, that type of thing. So I've just been doing that.
Love it. And you're right. There is the trade-off that people have to make. So if you don't move as much, then perhaps you're not going to be able to eat as much. And just also making sure that whatever the amount of food that you're eating is still enough that you're not consistently thinking about food. I think that when it comes to nutrition, sometimes people feel like they either need to be, and I'm not saying like this about you at all, Teresa, but just like a lot of people, they'll look at food as like, oh, if I'm in maintenance, I need to always feel full, not just like eating until satisfied with meals and then actually feeling hunger later during the day, right? Or I need to be hungry all the time because I'm eating in a calorie deficit. There's no like happy medium of people falling into that, because it's like, absolutely, when you're in maintenance, you should be eating to be satisfied, but not constantly thinking about food. Like it's totally fine a few hours later to feel hungry. Like that's normal. That's what you want, right? So I love that. And then with training, like you said, it's not that easy to see visual progress. It's such a delayed gratification experience. Being a bodybuilder, especially like a competitive bodybuilder, I think we can all call all ourselves bodybuilders, but in your particular instance, like you still want to get on the stage again. And so it's like, okay, you're putting in the work every day when you go to the gym, but you don't really get to see the visual changes. And so how do you track that? And like you said, you're tracking it through logging your lifts, noticing when you're getting stronger, are you improving in your execution, and looking at it through the lens of your training quality. And so I love that because it can feel boring. Like maintenance is boring.
Yes.
Yes. So what are other ways besides tracking your lifts that you have been able to find patience in this long game of building muscle?
Well, I enjoy it, so I think that helps, right? Like my gym is my happy place. It's my hour away to myself where no one I don't have to talk to anyone, worry about anyone else. So, I mean, I really enjoy lifting and just in general. So, I love like just like exercise, right? And it gives you those endorphins and stuff. So, I think that helps. And then uh like I said, I don't track vegetables, right? And some days I won't track at all. I'll just because I just eat mostly the same things. So I kind of know what calories are in what. And also, like you said, it's knowing, being able to trust, being in a place where you can trust your hunger cues and then not overeat, but not undereat, right? Because you know, like how your body's feeling and like, oh yeah, I'm hungry. Well, when was the last time I ate? Well, what did I eat? Okay, I should probably eat again. And so I think just having that ability to be a little bit more um, relaxed about it, but then also noticing, like I said, all of a sudden, I started putting on quite a few pounds and then my pants started getting tight. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I should, rein it back in and then track my calories for a little bit and see like what's happening, that type of thing. But just having that flexibility and that not such a mental, um, they have a mental load off of you, I guess you could say.
That's great. That's such a wonderful approach, and it goes to show that you've got some really good habits in place. You've got your routine that you're pretty much consistent with, and so that allows you the freedom and flexibility to go off plan, if you will, which I wouldn't even say that's off plan, but to just not be so like intentional at tracking and to allow yourself a little bit more freedom. And then you go back and you track a little bit more consistently when you feel like you need to, if you're noticing the scales creeping up or your pants are getting tighter or whatever it might be, things like that. So I really, that's such a good approach. And I think that if more people were to have that approach, that they wouldn't feel like they would need to do fat loss phases as frequently as a lot of, general population women like to do. Is they're like, oh, I'm feeling fluffy, and it's like, well, have you even been consistent or trying to be adherent to your calorie range at maintenance? You might just need to apply a little bit more effort instead of going so extreme to drop your calories so low, and move into a deficit, because then it keeps the people more in like that diet mindset, and be out of we should be living life more than we should be dieting. Big time. So, yeah, here we are, tip like almost almost a year into doing main gain stuff. And what would you say, what would be your piece of advice that you would give to women who start to get frustrated that they like and like wondering if they're even making any progress when they're trying to be consistent and just kind of questioning themselves, wondering like, why isn't this happening faster?
Mhm.
What piece of advice would you give to those people?
I would just say to, like I said, make sure you're tracking, data. Data is helpful, right? Because when things aren't changing visually, it can be really hard to be like, am I even building muscle? Am I even doing anything? Am I spinning my wheels? Right. So if you have like data to quantitative data to look at, then I think that is helpful. So even if it's not what you should be, anyways, tracking your workouts, tracking your lifts, right? Are you getting stronger? Like, is your execution getting better? Your form getting better? Also, maybe pictures, right? Because just looking in the mirror, but if you take a picture like every month, like let's say, or every couple weeks, right? You can compare them and see, okay, well, maybe, do you have a little bit more definition here? Or maybe my waist has gotten a little bit smaller. I just have noticed, or also measurements, right? Like take your measurements every couple weeks. And just, I think that, because, and I guess the scale too, but then again, that can be, um, wildly vary for who knows how many reasons, right? Like you ate a bunch of carbs yesterday, so you're holding more water, or you're on your period, or you had something with a lot of salt in it, right? Like, or maybe the scale dropped a lot because you're like super dehydrated, right? And then like who knows? So I would just say like all the data is helpful. So you can and take it all with a grain of salt.
Yes. And yeah, so data, you guys, are you getting that? Data, find a way to track your progress. But the other thing that, and I should say, and the other thing that you said a few minutes ago was you do this because you love it. Like
Yes.
that's a big driving force. And so when you do have those moments where you are getting frustrated, it's going back to your why. Like, why do I do this? Well, I do this because I love it. I do this because I want to be able to run around with my daughter, or, not even talk like referencing you, but just anybody in general, like my grandkids, and have good cardiovascular health, and those type of things too. So it's sometimes we need to look at what is our why as well.
Hmm.
And that resistance training, and I'm sure you see the memes all the time too, that resistance training is the fountain of youth. It's something that we can do for our whole entire life. It's going to give us that muscle that we so desperately need, especially as we age. We are more prone to losing muscle. It's going to keep us more active. And there's just like so many trickle down benefits that come from it. So when we do find ourselves being frustrated, like, why isn't progress happening faster than we want? Which is always going to be like that. It's never going to be fast enough. I don't think
100%.
I don't think I've ever met anybody who was like, yeah, I don't have any qualms about my timeline for
Yeah.
muscle growth. Like, right? People are always like, oh, I wish I had this, or I wish this looked
Yeah.
better. Like we're always our own worst critics, but to look at the why. Like, why are we really doing this? And the other benefits besides just the aesthetics, because the aesthetics is definitely going to be a natural side effect of these things and these goals that we're working toward. Um, so you have been competing in bikini, and you've been competing in bikini from the beginning. You had alluded to the fact that when you started prep last year, the posing had changed from last time you were on stage. And it was more, from when you competed last, it was more of that fit model type of posing. There was no standard bikini front pose 5, 6 years ago. People were still doing that stallion pose where the one foot's in kind of in front, your torso is facing more toward the judges, kind of doing some different poses. Even the back pose was different. Did you ever do the back pose where you crossed your feet?
No, I've saw other people did, but I didn't.
Yeah. So there wasn't a whole lot of standards with the posing, and so now, like bikini, there's the new, like, all the people hit the same front and back pose.
Mhm.
Um, but this year, the fit model division was introduced, and all my guests that have been on, I've been asking them what they think about fit model. And so, as a as like a spectator of the sport, and I mean, you're also a participant, but this year you've been more of a spectator of the sport. What do you think about this new division? What are your thoughts?
I think that it's great because, I mean, honestly, if it gives more women opportunity to find a division that will fit their body and encourage them to do it, I think it's awesome. And all the haters are going to hate on it regardless, I think. So I think it's a really great opportunity. And like, I might even do Fit Model. I don't know. I'd like to do a show next year. And so I think when we start to get into that fat loss phase and we see how my body looks, right? And we'll just um, decide which one I would be better suited for, right? Like I don't care one way or the other, right? I just either one. I think they both look great, and I'm interested to see what the first Olympia winner looks like. Super interested because I remember you have one client, right, who made it to, was it nationals, and then they told her that she was too muscular for fit model, right? So that's super interesting. So it just really, I'm really interested to see like what the judges think the ideal look's going to be for it, because it's still kind of, I think, in being nailed down.
Yeah, and so I totally agree. There's like the criteria, and you can literally go to NPC News Online to see what the official criteria is for the division. And so the judges are looking at the athletes that are showing up, just as with any division, and trying to find the person out of the group of athletes at that show that best fits the division criteria. And so far there's still nobody that's really standing out as like, yeah, this is exactly what we want as fit model. We keep seeing them referring to Ashley Kaltwasser in like 2017. Like, this is the fit model look that we want, and which is so fascinating that there's nobody yet that they're like, okay, yeah, this is the present day fit model look we want. It's still like, this is the Ashley K of 2017 that we want for fit model. So I totally, like Teresa, I totally agree with you. I think that these pro shows coming up next year, I think it's going to be really fascinating to see. There's going to be bikini pros that are going to switch to fit model. And so bringing these bikini pros that have transitioned to fit model into the shows next year, what will that level of muscularity look like relative to what the current fit model bikini pros, that have won this year, like how's that going to compare? I know of a few bikini pros like Chantel Hall, and she's placed well as a bikini pro, getting close. I think she's placed like third and second, and she had said in the last show that she did that she had got feedback from Sandy to try fit model, and so
Mm,
that's what she's been doing. Is so she's changed up her training a little bit. She's eating more food, and her body composition has changed. And so it'll be really interesting to see Chantel on the stage and see how she stacks up compared to the current new fit model pros. Anna Dunbar, she is a natural bikini pro, and she was just at the Olympia. It was her second Olympia, so she's incredible too. And she's talked about that as well. There's a few more. So I'm just like, how is it really going to shape up and evolve? What is it going to look like? And then to your point with Abby, my client who did um North Americans and was told that she was too muscular. We're going to nationals in December, and she'll be about 4 pounds more than she was at this last show. We're trying to soften her up and then adjusting her posing a little bit to make it her walk, to make her not look and appear as muscular. Cause I think with her walk, she's like such a tomboy, and she runs a girls softball league and stuff like that. So she's just always been into the sports. So she doesn't have that smoothness with her, walking in heels. And I don't either. I'm not a tomboy,
right.
but I just don't have the coordination.
Same.
But yeah, so we've just been working on things like that to see what that looks like. She'll also be the head judge at nationals is going to be either Tyler Mannion or Sandy. So
Okay.
it'll be interesting just to see what they have to say. And if she's been gets told again like too much muscle, then we'll have to go back to the drawing board. But ultimately with Abby, what we decided was, if we went the way of bikini, yeah, we could get her leaner, but the amount of muscularity she would need for her glutes would require like several years of
Mhm.
building muscle. And so that disparity of like, okay, yeah, she does have a lot of muscle, but from a glute perspective, which is so much bikini right now, is that like
Mhm.
density, she doesn't have that once we lose the excess, like, more body fat, get more condition that she would need for bikini. So it's interesting, how you have to think about that. And Teresa, I think that even like that whole conditioning aspect with bikini, I think it's going to be the same with fit model. I think it's going to be hard for some athletes to achieve the level of conditioning that they need relative to their muscle. just like it is for bikini, because some women like will just get so lean up top, and then it takes forever for their legs to
Yeah.
catch up. And so,
Like
yeah, so it's
me.
like, yeah. So it's like, okay, it's getting to
Yeah.
that point, like they don't want to
Yes.
see striations. They don't want to see vascularity in fit model at all. And so if you have to work to get even a little bit leaner, it's just to make sure you've got that glute pop in your back pose like you need for fit model, then it's like figuring out how you fill out so you're not as hard up top, but you've still
Hmm.
got the full anyway. It's so I it's a fun challenge as a coach. But yeah, yeah, getting back to the main point, the main question that I asked was, I think it's going to be really interesting to watch and see what the standard becomes. And I don't think we'll know until we get deep into some pro shows next year. Yeah, and I like your idea of possibly trying fit model yourself, but like you said, we won't know whether you'll be fit model or bikini until we start with contest prep and
Yeah.
see what, what changes have been made
You gotta
over
peel
the
back the
last.
layers and see.
Exactly. Because it's again that whole getting back to the whole thing with like an improvement season is you just don't see a lot of change, and it can feel kind of boring. And so just settling in, remembering your why and
Yeah.
those type of things. With going back to just the changes from bikini of 2015, 2016 to where it is now, there's been so much that has evolved with the sport over the past 10 years. So what are the biggest changes that stand out to you?
Just the level of density and muscularity and even some little striations, just like the amount of muscle now that the bikini girls have, the pros and the Olympia, compared to what I saw, almost like 10, yeah, about 10 years ago, is just night and day. And some of the bikini girls now, I think 10 years ago, I would have expected them to be in figure just because of the standards, right? It's like it seems as time goes on, the standard is always like more and more muscle, right? Regardless of your division, like more muscle, more conditioning. Um, and so, yeah, it will be super interesting to see if that trend stays consistent for fit model too, right? Because at some point, I think um, if you keep wanting more muscle and more conditioning at the same time, some of it is not, I think it gets less and less sustainable, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yes, yes, it will. Well, we've just got a few more minutes, and we've had such a good episode so far. I'm like loving everything that you've shared. But before we close, I want to ask you just a few more questions, just some like reflection questions. So, um, as I was talking about earlier, competing teaches you a lot about yourself. So, what do you think the one of the biggest lessons you've learned has been?
I think just besides like what I mentioned earlier, just knowing that I can do hard things, right? But also that you can, that how important habits are, right? Because anyone can have a goal, but willpower will only get you so far. And it's really your habits that are what get you there. And so I think it's helped that I've just competing, I think really it forces you to build good habits, right? If you want to be successful, you have to have good habits. And so I've just built those habits up, and it makes it a lot easier now in the off season and just in daily life because I already have established those. So I think just, yeah, knowing I can do hard things, the importance of habits versus willpower, um, and also just having a, a healthier mindset about my body image and not being tied to the scale and just going for what's the new saying, like strong versus skinny, strong over, strong is the new skinny, whatever it is.
Yes.
I think that's it basically.
Yeah. So much wisdom. So you always have so much wisdom. And I want to ask you one more question, but it might kind of tie in with what you've already said. If you could go back and tell 2015 Teresa one piece of advice, what would that be?
It would be it would be to find a different coach. That's that's not gonna put you on like 1,100 calories a day with a meal plan, right? It's just but besides that, I would say that maintenance requires effort and you can't just trust yourself when you get out of prep to just go back to your old way of eating, right? Because I didn't know any better and I put on, I would say probably like 20 pounds in a very, very short 20 or 30 pounds with a very short period of time because I had been hungry for so long and didn't think to like, oh, I need to still track my food or I didn't think like, oh, the maintenance requires effort, right? Or that you can't trust your hunger cues when you've been hungry for so long because they're wacky right now. And I think that'd be my piece of advice is that you still need to watch yourself before you wreck yourself.
That's good advice. That's really good advice. So if you're just getting started, you guys, if you're looking to be a competitor, um, maybe you might want to rewatch this episode because Teresa has some really good wisdom here. All
Yeah,
right.
learn from
Well,
my mistakes.
yeah, that's the best way is learn from other people, right? So you don't have to do the same thing. So Teresa, thank you so much for sharing your story. I know so many women watching are going to connect with what you said about patience mindset and truly building over time, especially the muscle, but also mental muscle. If you enjoyed this conversation, give it a like, subscribe for more of these types of stories, and share this episode with someone who needs a reminder that real results take time. Thank you so much. And thank you again, Teresa.
You're welcome.
We are out.